Welcome to Southwick, Massachusetts. Art Ekman, David Bailey, and Davey Coombs coming your way as the 125s on their parade lap. This is John Dowd's home track.
It's kind of weird for me here. You know, I've always done well here, but at the same time, I've never won here either. So, I don't know. I mean, I've kind of had maybe like a little omen or something over all the years, but I don't know. I'm hoping to break that omen today. I really like to win this race in front of all my friends and family and everybody.
I've been spending the whole week here. You know, I'm not really a sand rider, but I spent the whole week here with John and Doug, and they both helped me a lot. You know, so those guys have been a big asset.
Last year I won here at 2-2, but I hope I can win here with a 1-1 this year and keep it going.
Lammy leads the division by 45 points in the Suzuki season standings, getting back to winning form in the last event at Budds Creek after the worst day of his season, an 8th overall at Mount Morris. The mechanics a little busier than usual as the riders come down to the starting gate. The Southwick track known for its pavement starting pad, which creates all kinds of difficulties, David.
Well, you got to keep your eyes covered for one thing. Look at all that dust right there.
It's easier to maintain, that's one fact.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot more of those in the future because for the promoter, they don't have to mess with the dirt there. It doesn't get dug out. That is one of the main differences. Sets this track apart from most. And by the look of the Suzuki track map, it's kind of tough to tell what's going on there. A lot of corners, a lot of hills, and a lot of sand. It's been the same layout ever since I can remember.
And one of the few tracks that you have a crowd right near the starting line, which makes things exciting. Steve Lampson taking the deep breath there, #1. Last year, winning the overall, a second in a string of 4 consecutive overalls. He had a 2-2 finish. Ferry right next to him, #20, won the first moto. #9, Honda Troy's Mike Brown had good starts in the last event at Budds Creek, but he probably tried to come back from injury a little soon, David Bailey.
Well, one of the mistakes that you make, too, and it's hard not to, is you go out and try to ride the pace you were riding before you got hurt. That's tough to do when you're coming back. So a little patience is what he's going to have right now.
John Dowd, #7. Of course, he loves this track. It's his home track. Kevin Windham, another contender right next to him, #38, as we get set to see the gate drop and get this one underway. It's been a great season so far. Steve Lampson, can he continue to dominate, though? The long straightaway here at Southwick. Who will get the whole shot? Oh, look at #42, Tony LaRussa. He's from Brockton, Massachusetts, his home track at #20. The heat winner last year is down. Tim Ferry will start it up again in last place.
What a contrast to last year after getting out to a good lead and winning that first moto. I don't think it's any way you can do it now. There's no way you're going to pass all these riders. Look at them all.
LaRusso, Lusk, Raynard, all the good starts. #42. What a happy surprise that is for this youngster.
Crowd's going to love that. He got a good drive out of that berm heading up the hill. That's really important. That hill is so steep, all full of sand. You got to get a good drive out of the corner. Look at Lampson there, buried in the pack.
Both Lampson, and there goes Windham. 38 also buried in back of Lampson even. LaRusso continues to lead. And you hear the whistles. Look at the great crowd on hand as they cut through this sandy soil.
Now, since practice, these riders really haven't had a look at the racetrack. They just took a parade lap, looked at it a little bit, but now they're at speed, and they're realizing how much rougher it was in practice. Each year, I always thought, well, it doesn't seem like it's getting that rough this year, but by the first moto.
Right behind #42 is #203, Shane O'Connor from Southwick, Massachusetts. So we have 2 locals out in front of Ezra Lusk, #34, and then Robbie Raynard would be in the next position, #14.
Believe me, these local guys know how to go fast around this Southwick track. They know where the lines are. They know where it's going to get rough. And anytime you're comfortable like that on the track that you ride on locally, you're going to be able to take it to the factory guys for a while. Conditioning and experience will eventually be a factor in the end, though.
LaRusso with the good lead as they go through a very difficult area. The real battle is for second place. Ezra Lusk putting the pressure on. Ezra Lusk, can he take Shane O'Connor? O'Connor holding on to second place.
This is the longest left-hand turn in the world, too. You start from the top and you drop down. Lusk on the outside there.
Oh, Raynard cuts in front of Lusk. #14. Injury riddled for the last few years. Robbie Raynard now in good position.
Yeah, that was kind of an odd line there by Lusk. I mean, later on, that might be a good line, but he just got caught on the outside and left the door wide open for Raynard.
And with such uphill speed, David, this is an interesting, very tight squeeze through that corner.
Especially you can see as they make the right and drop down the hill there. It's one of the one-line sections on the racetrack. and then you head down into that turn, and there's about 3 or 4 berms before you start up that steep hill. And choosing the right one and getting that drive, as I already pointed out, is so important. Look at Raynard now.
Raynard takes O'Connor, moving into second place. Oh, is he on the move?
He wasn't even out of the corner yet. He's still in the berm, reaching up for clearing his vision. So that sand starts getting in your face, and it's kind of wet, so it sticks to your lenses. And as you start to gobble that up through the race, you run out of tearaways.
And Lusk has moved into third now as we see LaRusso, number 42, out in front. Then it's Robbie Raynard and the Primal Honda in second place. And Team Suzuki's Ezra Lusk in third.
Raynard really the man on the move right now. I remember at Millville last year, won both motos handily. Half sand there, so he looks good in the sand.
LaRusso, Raynard, and Lusk, the top 3. We'll be back after this.
First. 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 Second. Bad taco. First. No one in Supercross history has ever had a more perfect season. Honda's Jeremy McGrath, 4-time Supercross champion.
Coverage of AMA Motocross is brought to you by the reigning Supercross 125 and 250 outdoor champions, Honda. Come ride with us.
The Southwick track has a real long history of local riders coming out here and leading professional nationals. Both Doug Henry, John Dowd, even JoJo Keller back in the day. Those guys came here. They led their classes for a long time. That's how they got discovered. Here in the first 125 mode today, we have the same thing going on. We have Tony LaRusso out front. We saw Carter up there for a little while. It's local heroes just coming out in front of their hometown crowd, put on the race of their lives. We'll see how long one of those guys can stay up there.
Tony LaRusso, number 42, now getting some pressure from Robbie Raynard, number 14. LaRusso, last year, his best finish was a 13th. This year, a 14th, so he is well on his way, at least off a great start, to his best moto of his career. Raynard to the inside on this very famous straightaway on the finish line. LaRusso going to the outside has the slight advantage. But here comes Raynard. Raynard to the inside on that long sweeping downhill.
Raynard just pushed LaRusso wide. He came down the inside, kept the pressure on. Tony felt like he had to go into that corner a little harder than normal, and he couldn't hold the inside line.
It'll be interesting now to see if LaRusso can hold on with the very aggressive Ezra Lusk right in back of him.
Look at that line, wide open around the outside. He didn't even sound like he'd let off all the way down the straightaway. That's a fast line. These guys, they ride local here. They know all the tricks. Raynard's seen them all. That's all he needs to see. He's going to go out front and show him a few now.
Raynard didn't get the start last year that he got this season and finished up with an 8-7 at Southwick.
Raynard squaring that corner before the downhill. That's where he made a couple of his passes. Everything is clicking for him right now. I already pointed out at Millville last year, he won both motos. One of the few races last year where he was healthy, very sandy track, and he walked away, won both motos by a mile.
Raynard's stand-up style through the sand. What's the difference in the sand now? I assume you have to have more power.
Well, the more power, the better, but the more momentum that you can maintain right there through that corner. He didn't scrub off any speed at all. He was in the right place on the berm. That was something Hannah was always really good at. Growing up riding in the desert so much, he knew how to handle the sand, and always rode well here and was a big crowd favorite.
Lusk, growing up in the state of Georgia, now pursuing the Massachusetts native, LaRusso, for second place, as Raynard starting to pull a little bit away from 42.
Right there coming out of that corner, you can see LaRusso just tuck that front wheel under a little bit. That's scrubbing off speed. He wanted to hold that inside line, but you got to be careful about it. You got to use your hips a lot and keep that bike angled just right. Just like riding a bicycle with no hands. You use your hips a lot to steer it.
Pretty fast track for 125s.
Real quick, especially through this top section. I mentioned this corner before that they're approaching is, like I said, about the longest left-hander. Oh,
Raynard's down. Our leader, Robbie Raynard, went down. It looks like he's hurt. The bike's now trying to avoid it. Oh, John Dowd! He hooks the handlebar and goes flying. He's lucky he didn't get hurt.
Look at this. He hits the handlebar. Lucky not to get his leg caught up in that. It threw him completely off the bike, and just before he came by, Scott Carter went by and clipped the bike and tore his radiator shroud loose.
So the complexion of this race has certainly changed as Ezra Lusk is now in position for his best moto of the year, taking on Tony LaRusso. LaRusso, number 42, cuts in front of 34. Oh, we've got a good battle going here early in the first moto of 125s from Southwick, Massachusetts.
Both these guys need a win. Both of them for sure. LaRusso, if he can't win this race, he's going to kick himself because he's had plenty of opportunities. And Lusk, continuing to use that outside line in some of these corners, I guess he's just trying to do something a little different in hopes that LaRusso will go down and he'll choose the right line.
That's Mike Brown, number 9. He went down. Brownie hasn't scored a point since the opener in Gainesville and certainly doesn't need a bad break like that. We're back with our leaders. Let's go to Davey Coombs.
I'm down here with Bob Oliver. This is one of the Yamaha technicians. Bob, what happened up there with Renard?
Well, I saw it was Robbie come around the corner and got a little too far sideways and went end over end a couple times.
You happen to see, was Dowd involved in that too?
Yeah, apparently he didn't see where Robbie's bike was, and when he came by, the back of his bike clipped it and caused John to go down too.
How many spots did he lose?
I think he went back about 5 places.
Thanks, Bob.
It's obvious we had the better look at it than they did in the mechanics area. Ezra Lusk now putting pressure on our leader, Tony LaRusso. Number 34, nice, clean, wide open pass.
Another look. This is one of the times I like the line that Lusk is using. He stopped early in the berm, cut out, used the inside, saved about 30 to 40 feet of racetrack, and makes an easy pass on LaRusso.
So the young man out of Bainbridge, Georgia, Ezra Lusk, is our new leader. Lusk rumored to be shopping his services elsewhere for next year, David.
Well, I don't know if he's not happy at Suzuki. He's had some good performances, but his contract's up. He's going to look around and get the best offer, and it may just be leverage to come back to Suzuki and say, okay, well, these guys are going to pay me this, so up the ante.
There's our defending champion, Steve Lamson, who's climbed all the way back up to 4th position. Kim Ashkenazi is in 3rd place. The Australian national champion trying to hold off Lammy.
Lamson getting down that hill pretty quick, using the inside. You can see Raynard's bike was sitting on against a tree there as they went down through that spectator area.
One wonders how Robbie Raynard is feeling right now. He has not re-entered the race. It looked like he had the slight injury. Steve Lamson now making his move. Nice clean move on Kim Ashkenazi.
Amazing too. He came down the straightaway wide open, probably 4th gear, I'd imagine. Never shut it off, wide open all the way through the corner. That's the kind of aggressiveness that's been working for Lamson. He's climbed all the way to 3rd now, and with that kind of pace, there's time enough for him to catch the leader.
As for Lusk, our leader, LaRusso still in 2nd place with Lamson in 3rd. Moto 1, 125 action, Southwick, Massachusetts. And a very unhappy John Dowd as he suffers the effects of tumbling over Robbie Raynard's bike. Our Suzuki stopwatch now ticking away.
Lusk going by, still the leader. He's going to have about a 6-second lead or so, I'd say, on 2nd place. Look how close Lamson is now. Like I said, he's making up time everywhere on the racetrack.
Kim Ashkenazi, number 838, behind Lamson, and then a big gap, as you see there. It'll be more than 25 seconds from the leader. Brandis, number 59. Chad Pedersen, number 21. Then you've got O'Connor, who everybody else has caught up with. He was 2nd place at one time. Scott Sheik, number 26. And Michael Craig, number 17. That is the order, then, of that pack behind. John Dowd not having much success trying to restart. There's Keith McCarty, the team manager for Yamaha. Not too pleased with the progress as well.
Well, obviously very disappointed at both of them because 2nd in the point standings. Lamson didn't get that good of a start. He had an opportunity to maybe win this moto, and right now with a DNF, it looks like he might just take away all his hopes of winning the title this year.
Brandis, number 59. This is his 4th race of the year of the outdoor season. His best was an 11th place moto in the first moto at Glen Helen.
A big cluster here of privateers and the independent team riders. But no match for the leaders right now. 25 seconds back. These guys are locked in their own battle.
Number 21, Chad Pedersen, making a move, trying to move up a notch now on Shane O'Connor. O'Connor holding his own fairly well, though, for an inexperienced rider.
I think so. I think he's pretty comfortable with the racetrack. That helps. And that shows what it's like when you get a good start. And I don't think he's really slowed down. I think the other guys have really started to pick it up. And they ride the whole season and have a little bit more experience.
The heat is on LaRusso for 2nd place. And Davey Coombs is with his fiancée mechanic.
We're down here with Lisa Perrone. This is Tony La Russa's fiance. Your riders are in second right now. How's that make you feel?
Feels really good. He's worked hard for this. A lot of training, a lot of practicing. He's doing good. I'm proud of him.
How do you think he'll be up there at the end of the moto? I mean, has he got a lot of conditioning? Has he trained a lot?
I think he'll be real strong. I don't think he'll be that tired.
Well, hopefully we'll get to talk to him after the moto. Maybe we'll get top 3.
Definitely. Most definitely. Thank you.
Steve Lamson, though, just looking for the opportunity now to take second place away from Tony La Russa. La Russa, though, with a good, consistent ride up to this point. And look who comes flying by, Steve Lamson into second place.
Great move. I always like that line Steve just took right there. You hit that jump by the tree and fly all the way to the outside. You maintain all your momentum, and then you set yourself up good for the next right-hander. So good thinking there for Steve.
Really an interesting section of the track. It acts just like quicksand sometimes.
Well, as they head down that sharp little right-hander and make that long left before the uphill, it just drags all the horsepower out of the motorcycle. So as I pointed out before already, you got to get a good drive out of that corner, especially on a 125.
Looking back to 5th place now, Brandis still holding off Chad Pedersen. Then Scott Sheik has moved in behind Pedersen with Michael Craig. So O'Connor has slipped a couple of positions back.
This battle is kind of funny. Really, look at them all. They've been the same like this the whole time. All 4 of them, they're like magnets. They're sticking to each other. Pit boards everywhere when they come to the mechanics area, and Craig's still the tail end of it.
I have a feeling, though, Sheik is going to force some action here.
Well, Sheik is the tough one, and so is Craig. Look on the outside.
Great move by Craig in very limited quarters.
And look at that. Sheik got caught in that berm, didn't really get the line he wanted. It took him forever to get up the hill. So that's what I had pointed out before. It looks like Wyndham now. Maybe he's starting to sneak up from behind.
He's coming in on the tail end of Sheik on the end of that freight train.
Well, these guys at the front of this train of riders here, yeah, it is Wyndham. Look how close he caught those guys in about a quarter of a lap there. It came out of nowhere. Now he's right on them.
So it's Pedersen, Brandis, Craig, Sheik, and then Wyndham. 5th through 10th.
Seems like Pedersen now may be able to pull away from this pack. He's already got a little lead. Brandis looking over his shoulder going, okay, who's next? Maybe this is a point in the race where if you're going to get tired at all and you're not really in shape enough, this is where it's going to start hitting you.
Kevin Wyndham with the slow start off the gate. Lamson also with a difficult opening performance. But Lammy has moved back up to second, and Wyndham is trying to weed his way through this difficult pack. To the inside, Sheik getting by Brandis. Brandis going very wide, and there comes Wyndham cutting up and in.
Well, Sheik got in there and just really surprised Brandis with an inside line. It looked like to me he was ready to surrender. He's already going, okay, well, I can't hang with this group anymore. There's nobody back there anymore, so maybe I'll just hang on to 10.
And that is Scott Sheik's mechanic, ready to give him instructions the next time around the mechanics area as he's moved into 6th place, with Wyndham now in 7th place.
Wyndham really using the momentum of that outside berm. There he goes to the outside again. Coming up in that long left-hander. This is where the problems occurred for Raynard and Dow. That's a kind of a blind section, and sure enough, Wyndham around the outside again, maintaining that momentum.
Wyndham early in the season coming back from injury, had 2 straight wins, and then all of a sudden crashed right off the starting gate for a very difficult time of it in the last event at Budds Creek. Right now putting the pressure on number 21, Chad Pedersen, as they go through the pinch area, as I call it. That's where the quicksand is. There's Wyndham's dad and his girlfriend anxiously looking on as Kevin trying to pick up some space on Chad Pedersen.
Coming up that hill, you can see how deep those ruts get. Look at this. Wide open down the downhill, hits a braking bump. It's almost like a jump. These guys carrying a lot of speed into that corner.
Great move by Kevin. Kevin growing up, of course, on the motocross tracks. Finds us a lot more fun than Supercross, but is a very good technique rider in Supercross. Ezra Lusk, our 3rd leader of the day, and we'll be back in a moment. We are back. Moto 1, 125 action at Southwick, Massachusetts. Steve Lamson starting to put the pressure now on our leader, Ezra Lusk. It looks like this is shaping up on the final lap to be an outstanding finish. Lusk has not won a 125 National Moto outdoors.
You hear Lamson, he wants this bad. He went to that mechanics corner, didn't even shut it off. Wide open up the hill, through there, wide open again. He's gaining time fast, and Lusk knows it.
Question now is, can Lammy get close enough to pressure Lusk into a mistake?
Well, that's what he's hoping for. Lusk going wide. I don't like when he goes wide like that.
Oh, a little bobble, too. Lamson powers bar to bar with him. Steve Lamson now is good in close quarters. Once again, Lusk going wide.
Yeah, I don't understand that line. We're going to get another look at, well, this is actually after he's already taken that outside line. He's got to ride through all that soft sand, and Lamson able to take that main line, which is still a little bit wet. He's got much better traction and a shorter distance. So a bad decision by Lusk right there. Look at him right now. I mean, he's trying as hard as he can, but his lines aren't good enough to win this moto. Nothing to do with the speed.
Lamson looking for his 7th moto win of the season right now. Ezra Lusk is hoping for his best finish on a moto this year.
Well, you know, hand it to Lusk. He's ridden great, and, you know, he didn't get the whole shot. He worked his way into the lead, but just not enough for Lamson right here. And again, I'm going to say that it was his line choice. They just didn't come together like Lamson's has. Lamson's not any faster, just a little smarter.
There were times in the past, though, that we criticize Ezra Lusk for pressuring over the edge and going down so much. I got to give him credit right now for holding on to second place and staying upright.
And he's still pretty close to Steve right here, making it a real race all the way down to the wire. I don't think Steve's going to have any trouble now, though.
The uphill before the final turn in that famous straightaway that's got all kinds of bumps and ruts. Checkered flag for Steve Lamson, and right on his back tire was Ezra Lusk. And the next battle before they get to the checkers flag, LaRusso and Wyndham. LaRusso, 3rd place. Great accomplishment for him. Wyndham winds up in 4th. But Lammy takes them all. The second privateer in the top 5, Scott Sheik in 5th position. Michael Craig, Ashkenazi, Pedersen, Ferry, and Michael Brandis nailing down 10th. Davies with our winner.
All right, Steve, that was a brilliant ride.
Thanks. I didn't get a very good start, and I was a little bit worried. I knew I was back past 10th in the first lap, and I just put my head down and charged the whole way and didn't give up, and luckily I got Ezra at the end there.
Yeah, tell us about that last lap pass. You were second last time we saw you come by the finish line.
Yeah, there was a big downhill, then an immediate uphill in the back, and he was going outside to get a little more momentum, but I just charged inside and got the momentum up the hill and outpowered him a little bit.
Did your mechanic, Mike Gosser, let you know that Dowd was out of the moto, the guy that was second in points coming in?
No, it's kind of hard to see a pit board, but I seen him down the ground on the second or 3rd lap there, and I knew he was out because it looked like it was a pretty bad crash.
All right, well, congratulations.
Thanks, Davey.
Lamson the opportunist. And here's where it happened, where he gained the lead on the inside of Ezra Lusk. And Davies with Ezra now.
All right, Yogi, what happened? Looks like you had it.
I don't know. Just called me a squirrel. I don't know. I couldn't stay loose out there. And we made a bunch of changes to the bike, and it hasn't been the same every race. And this weekend it seems like it's the best so far. And it's hard to get used to something when you change and change. But there's no excuse. I had the lead. You know, Lammy reeled me in. I had a few problems with lappers, but that's racing. And, you know, I have my hats off to Lammy. That's why he's #1. But I'm going to come back strong in the second moto and the rest of these outdoors. But it's my fault. You know, I got a little too tight and just gave it away.
The biggest surprise for some, and certainly a crowd pleaser, was the 3rd place finish of Tony LaRusso, number 42. Also got the whole shot. Davies with him right now.
The local here, it happens almost every year here at Southwick, and this year you're the guy.
Yeah, I got off to a good start, and that's what I needed, you know, and everything just worked out pretty good. I hung in there for a while, and everybody spaced themselves out, and it was, I don't know, it got a little close at the end, but I don't know, I felt pretty good the whole race.
Well, your fiance / mechanic told us you've been working out really hard for this race.
Well, I'm practicing a lot, you know, and I don't know, I'm pretty used to this track, riding in the sand and stuff, so I might be able to relax a little more than some of the other guys because they don't ride it as much, but I don't know, I felt pretty good out there. I didn't get too tired.
What about the hometown crowd? Those people are all over the place out there cheering for you.
Oh, yeah, they were screaming, and I don't know, it keeps you going out there, you know, and you don't think about getting tired, just think about doing the best you can.
Yeah. Can you do it again?
I hope so.
Well, congratulations. That's a really good job.
Thanks a lot.
An exciting first moto. We'll be back with number 2 in a moment. Welcome back, everyone. Between motos of the 125 here at Southwick, Massachusetts, after a great first moto, the veteran prevailing.
Lamson sure looked good, and he's got the experience. He's been up there winning motos, and I think for Lusk, he looked great, but you know, he's uncomfortable in that situation. I think he'll know how to handle that better in the second moto. He's been a little inconsistent, but he had a little taste there that first moto.
Tony LaRusso taking advantage of a home track situation?
Oh, I think so. Anytime you got your home track, you're more comfortable out there. He knows this track pretty good, where the good lines are, and that hole shot didn't hurt things either.
Moto 1 proved costly, though, to a couple of riders, Robbie Raynard and John Dowd.
Well, sure. More of the same for Robbie Raynard, just getting injured again, and really unfortunate for John Dowd, but I thought he was pretty lucky to get his foot out of the way before he made contact with that motorcycle.
The mechanics, they're busy as beavers between motos, getting ready for moto number 2, especially if you're John Dowd's mechanic.
Right. Well, in addition to the usual routine of going through the filter and making sure the motors didn't suck sand, gas them up, Dowd's mechanics got to go through, rebuild the bike, all the parts that got broken when he made contact with Raynard, and the bike also seized up because he tried to ride it without any water in it, so he's got his work cut out.
The veteran Larry Brooks going for some refreshment. It is a cool day, though, here at Southwick, unlike many of the hot and humid conditions we've had earlier in the season.
That huge crowd back there behind Larry Brooks. It was always interesting to be here with Hannah when I was racing. The crowd always made so much noise for him.
You all right, though?
Yeah.
All right, good luck this
Yeah, I lucked out. I was kind of just landed right nice, you know.
Good luck this one.
John Dowd talking with Robbie Raynard's mechanic and father, Robert Raynard, and seemed like Mr. Raynard was apologizing for Robbie going down in front of him there in the first moto.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's not their fault, nobody's fault. He just felt bad that it was his son's and his son's motorcycle in the way. It could maybe make a difference in the outcome of this title now.
Wonderful racing family. Unfortunate, Robbie's had so many injuries, that's for sure. As moto number 2 is underway. Jeff Willow on the inside has a whole shot. Look at Esmeralska on the outside, comes banging in from the outside. But Chad Pedersen strong enough to kind of get through that hit. It's Willow out on top. Deegan is down. Number 25, the independent team Chaparral rider, colliding with a privateer. More wrestling out in front.
Yeah, Chad Pedersen getting pushed wide, almost went off the racetrack through that section. You can see it gets narrow in a couple of these places, and those guys don't have anywhere to go.
Willow, Buddy Anthonez is in second place from Great Western's team, number 22. But look at the pack. Wyndham goes down, back up on top of the hill after a slow start.
And somebody ran over his arm as he was down. Willow getting a little bit high on that berm right there. You can see all the footprints. It's hard to really tell where you're at in that berm, and after the first lap, everything gets broken in pretty good.
Jeff Willow, Honda of Troy rider, Buddy Anthonez right behind him. So a couple of independent team riders with good position here in the start of Moto 2.
There's Anthonez, 22, was third overall at the last round. With a real opportunity here, if he can get around Willow, he might be able to pull out a pretty good lead.
Anthonez's best finish was back in that monsoon time at Sacramento, when Doug Henry beat him on the very last lap. He took a second place there at Hangtown.
Anthonez sure been around the circuit a long time. It seems like he's been racing forever when you count the mini bikes and everything, and still putting pressure on Willow right now. There's not that many factory guys. They all kind of got stuck in the back. Lamson a bad start, Wyndham down. Dowd's the only guy up in there that really can pose a threat to any of these guys.
62 is Scott Carter with another good start, a local rider in third. And then comes Chad Pedersen and John Dowd.
That's that rough section right there. Willow hanging on to the lead, but it's so rough. You start dropping down, then it drops down again. It's like 3 tiers, and you're making a left the entire time. So the bike just wants to swap side to side.
Anthonez here telling Willow, hey, I want my first win of the season. He takes the lead on the inside of Willow.
Actually, it looked like the outside line had been the faster of the two. Most of the first moto. We'll see another look of it here. Anthonez just coming down the inside through that little bit of mud right there. Then from the inside, you got to let off a little bit, get into that berm, then get back on the gas. Willow was able to just keep it pinned all the way around the outside, but it's a little longer distance, so it paid off for Buddy.
Back in the dust, Dowd is making a move up now to try to challenge. He's moving into third place. John Dowd certainly not pouting over his unfortunate first moto.
No, he's tough, and he knows that's racing, and he kind of reminds me of Mario Andretti at the Indianapolis, you know. He's got the speed and the experience. He knows. I mean, this is the best track for him probably of the season to win on. He just can't get it done with bad luck. But here he's got a great opportunity. If he can win it, you can maybe forget about that first moto a little bit.
Be interesting to see Dowd not only take on Willow, but also taking on Buddy Anthonez, who held him off beautifully at Budds Creek in the last meeting.
Yeah, good point. Actually, they really thought that Dowd would have the strength and the aggressiveness really to move by him, but he couldn't do it. And he's going to have to figure out a way around him this week. His Buddy's already starting to get away a little bit, riding pretty good today.
More at stake, though, with Buddy out in first place in this one.
Well, if Dowd, I mean, he realizes if he looks over his shoulder or sees the pit board, Lamson's nowhere in the picture right now. So if he can get around these guys into the lead, hope Lamson finishes 4th or 5th, and he'll be able to salvage some of those points he lost the first moto.
Boy, with this loose sand, what's it like to have that sand just pelting you, roosting you like that?
Oh, it's no fun. I mean, it's wet. It gets down and it goes into the collar of your jersey and in your pants, your boots, and sometimes in your goggles, and that's no good.
Can Anthonez hang on? We'll find out in a moment. We come back with a battle for second place in Moto 2 of the 125s from Southwick. To the inside, John Dowd moves into second place over Jeff Willow. Only Buddy Anthonez out in front keeps Dowd from his first win of the year.
Track's really starting to get rough now. These guys have already I remember between motos always thinking, man, how am I going to ride the second moto now? You're sitting there going, okay, well, I'm tired. There's nothing I can do about it. Then you hear first call to the staging area for the second moto. You're like, oh, brother. And it's hot. And this is really, I think, where John Dowd's going to shine.
Willow in back of Dowd. Chad Pedersen nips that post. He goes down.
Right here, that back tire just, well, he aimed a little bit too much to the inside. Man, he took a good blow to his shoulder on that big 4x4.
And he is hurt and down on the track. The bike is in a difficult position to see, and therefore Brian Deegan has no choice but to try to get over it.
That was kind of weird. If I was Deegan right there, I would have just wheelied over the bike. And that's kind of now they're on a really hard place to get going from again on the side of that hill. Plus, it's still a blind area.
Here's the battle for first place. John Dowd, he wants to take that lead in front of some crazy jumping up and down family and friends at trackside.
You can hear how loud the crowd's getting now. They want their hometown boy to win this thing.
Dowd coming back after that big crash in Moto 1. Davey Combs is with his mechanic.
Yeah, can you tell us what happened to John in the first moto?
Well, Robbie Renard went down over there, and John went by, and John said he picked his bike up right as he went by, hit his radiator, and lost all our fluid, and it just seized after that.
I'll give a lot of credit to Brian Barry, though, for getting that bike back into shape now, as John Dowd is really putting some good, tough pressure on Buddy Anthonez. Going through a most difficult area of the course, I think, and here comes Dowd. Looking for his move. Out of the finish line straight away, John Dowd is passed into first place. Buddy Anthonez hopes to hold on to second and come back.
That was a great line, too. He came down the inside, but instead of just using the inside line, he rode the side of the bank, powered down the inside, missed all the bumps. Oh, that's a fantastic line. It's not only the shortest distance, but there's no bumps there. He doesn't have to hit anything.
Dowd's bike almost totally rebuilt between motos. You ever have that happen to you?
Art, I've had just about all of it happen to me, and now they're coming to that section where Pedersen went down. The bike's out of the way now, but yeah, I've had all kinds of problems, and fortunately, I had good mechanics. My first time with Honda, Paul Turner was my mechanic. He later went on to build the RockShox mountain bike fork, and then I had Cliff White. He's still a big part of Honda, probably responsible for Lamson out horsepower and luck up that uphill the first moto.
Good to see Chad Pedersen back on his feet now as Ezra Lusk gets in front of Willow and has power to go further. Ezra really looking for two back-to-back motos in the same event with a good placement. That's been a difficulty all season long. Tim Ferry going down. A winner here last year in Moto 1. Ferry, once again, with all kinds of bad luck this season.
That's the corner right past the mechanics area, actually where the first turn comes in. So that little area has been a bad spot for him today. Went down the first corner of the first moto, had to come from last.
Lammy is on the move again. Steve Lamson in 6th place. It's Lusk, Willow, Carter, and then Lamson. Lamson moving by Carter, now has moved quickly into 5th. Does he have enough time to get back to challenge John Dowd out in front?
Well, Dowd's pretty far gone. He's got enough time to get around all of these guys and maybe into second, but it's going to be tough to catch Dowd. Dowd has held him off before, and actually at Hangtown, the second round of the series, put a lot of pressure on Lamson, so they're pretty equal in speed.
John Dowd, our leader, but here is the climber, Steve Lamson, taking on Jeff Willow, number 73.
Taking on a lot of sand, too. You need somebody bailing that out. It's like a leaking boat, just gaining water. He's just picking up sand. Look how dirty he is. His whole bike's covered with it.
You have to repaint your helmets after a race like this?
You lose that shine, that's for sure. Wow, Willow getting out there and making it really tough for Lamson.
Only room for one bike, though, through that area, but Lamson goes to the outside. Oh, what a line by Lamson.
That was slick, and he's got the composure and the confidence really on that uphill, where everyone else is just trying to do everything they can to keep from having to downshift, and he's reaching up there clearing his vision.
Well, he created a line there as far as I'm concerned. Steve Lamson powering it out now.
Inside line through there, saving a lot of distance. A few rocks come up in that corner. That's one of the few places on this racetrack where you get some rocks.
Dowd, Antonez, and Lusk. If Lusk finishes there, he's got the overall. We'll be back. Moto 2 underway. It's Buddy Antonez, Ezra Lusk, and Steve Lamson, all three poised for another great last lap battle for the championship.
I talked about this track getting rough, and Lusk just showed us how rough. He came over that jump, got a little sideways, and anytime you land sideways like that in a hole, the bike's going to swap the other way, and he did a couple of them right there, but he pulled it off. Lamson was right there to see it all, so now he knows he's got both these guys nervous.
All within striking distance. Steve Lamson, though, is gearing in toward Ezra Lusk. Lusk gearing in toward Buddy Antonez. And Ezra Lusk, number 34, takes the lead away from Buddy Antonez. I was wondering which bike could move first.
Lusk knew that if he could get around Antonez, or at least that's what I would be thinking, if I can get around Antonez, put him between me and the national champion, that'd give me a little bit more time to relax, maybe have a little lead, force him to have to catch up to me.
And, of course, John Dowd, who's been our leader for some time now, is hoping that, hey, keep Lammy back there. I need the points. I'm trying to catch up to him in a points race.
Yeah, that's when you're really hoping. I remember in a battle trying to beat Johnson in the Supercross title one year, my friend O'Mara, he just happened to be in second. And I was thinking, man, can you just please make it real tough on Rick? And Rick, he wasn't, you know, but Rick felt like that's what he was doing, and I'm sure that's what Lusk is hoping for now.
Here comes Lamson. Lamson making the assault on Buddy Antonez, and a good clean pass. Lamson now into third place behind Ezra Lusk. John Dowd way out in front. He's got some space to move up on Lusk now, as Ezra was taking advantage of Buddy's position.
He's got the momentum to make up that space. Right after he passed Buddy, he just monorailed that berm, and that left-hand turn just perfect in the berm, wide open. Good balance everywhere. A lot of momentum, and that's the key. If you can keep up your momentum on this track, as rough as it's getting, look at Lamson around the outside, maintaining that momentum.
Lapper to contend with for both riders now. Steve Lamson, marvelous in the first 100 yards. He moved into this position because he cut the interval in half on Lusk and is now barking at his back wheel.
Well, this looks like the first moto to me, Art. I mean, the only difference is they're not in the lead. Dowd's in control of that, but still, Lusk out in front of Lamson, coming down to the wire, and you can bet he won't make the same mistakes that he made in the first moto in terms of line choice. He'll make it a lot tougher for Steve this time.
Lusk into the short corner. Lamson still undercuts him.
I don't believe that.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, he's just trying to do what he could to hold the right line, and that's what I would have done. Use the inside right there, and Lamson just completely made up a line right there, and it worked perfect.
A lot of fishtailing coming out of that corner as we take another look at this magnificent move.
Watch Steve. Now, you would think that Steve would just maintain, go all the way around that berm, around the outside, but instead cuts back to the inside, and didn't even think there was any room there, but he sure found it.
Davey Combs in the mechanics area.
Mike, we just saw your rider make a pass, but we'll probably give him the overall. Do you tell him to go after Dowd, or you going to sell him for second?
I mean, if we can get a pull away from Lusk a little bit and give us some cushion, it'll be good. But if he can go after Dowd and maybe get a couple extra points, it'd be even better, We'll see what happens. It's a long way, 15 seconds.
After such a pressurized year last year, coming back from some 60 points down to win the championship in the final moto of the year, Steve Lamson is having it in a breeze.
He looks really good out here today, too. And even if he can't get Dowd, it looks like he will win the overall. And, he said he didn't want to get 2 seconds this year and win the overall. And he jumped it up a notch by winning the first moto.
Scott Sheik's mechanic looking over to Mike Gossler for the time as we take a look at the Suzuki field summary. His rider Scott Sheik now in 5th place. Dowdy out in front with Lampson in 2nd. Quite a ways to go to catch up with the leader, however. Buddy Anthony's number 22. Scott Sheik wants a piece of Buddy. Sheik to the inside, a popular passing area so far today.
Yeah, it seems like that's where the passes have been made in that corner every time on the inside right there. And Sheik had to set that up down the finish line straight away, went all the way wide. Looked like he was going to hit the fence, but as the day gets later and the track gets rougher, these guys are going all the way against the banners anywhere they can get, even just to move over a few inches and find a smooth line. That's how far they'll go to find it.
We can talk a lot about the exciting battles in back of this guy, but the mere fact is that John Dowd has not let off the pace. In fact, he's increased his lead even after Steve Lampson got into 2nd place. Dowdy, a native of this area, and we got a chance to talk with him briefly about his thoughts before today's race.
It's always fun to come back here and race back at home. You know, there's always a whole bunch of fans and friends and family and everybody that comes to this race, and you know, it's a lot of fun. It gets pretty hectic sometimes also, but still it's definitely fun to come back home.
Hectic only begins to describe Dowd's life. Along with his normal motocross duties, he was busy planning a wedding with fiancée Tricia Dugree. This Ironman earlier in his career competed in all 3 classes in 1 year. He started out slow in '96 with a DNF in the first moto. Since that DNF, however, the 30-year-old veteran has finished in the top 4 with the exception of a 7th place in the first moto at Mount Morris. Good consistency, but number 7 Dowd has still been riding the hindsight of Steve Lampson all season. The Team Yamaha rider has 3 second-place overall finishes this season and is 2nd in points. A fan favorite, Dowdy O Junkyard Dog, is still in search of that first elusive national moto victory. Will today's home track advantage help his cause?
I've managed to be on the podium every race so far except for that one, like you said, but also I have managed not to win anything yet, so I'm still looking for that first win for sure.
Back to action. He's looking at the pit board.
He's probably looking to see if Lampson's anywhere in the vicinity, catching. It could be looking at how much time is left too. Sometimes in your mind you're going, okay, if I don't see a white flag this next lap, something's wrong. You know, because you're tired. These guys are exhausted right now, and with the lead he's got, he probably wants to be over right now.
Great riding style as we take a look at our Suzuki field summary. It's Dowdy out in front with Lampson closing. John Dowd, our leader here in Moto 2, fist high, final lap. He's pretty much assured the victory. He's got to stay upright, though.
Oh, he better be careful taking his hand off the handlebar
really.
in tricky sections like that. But yeah, it does look like he's got. I think he could even stall it somewhere and probably still win. He's got a decent lead right now.
Well, his first moto win of the national season. Certainly a fine wedding present, as he had a lot of details we described earlier to take care of during the week beside working out. But John Dowd here, it's appropriate, I think, that he gets his first moto win of the season on such a friendly track.
Yeah, it's got to feel good to him. It's a little bit spoiled by the fact that he dropped all those points in the first moto, but listen to that crowd.
There's nothing like a motocross crowd because they're right on top of you screaming.
Oh, there's nothing quite like a Southwick motocross crowd. I'll never forget the first time I came here in '79. It was a great battle with Hannah. My bike seized that day. I was riding a Bull Taco back then. Shoot, I couldn't expect anything more than that. And I watched the race, and the crowd was so into it. And it started raining, actually. And on this track, it doesn't really matter. It was just a phenomenal race, and it was always special coming back here.
We've had record crowds this motocross season, coming off one of the finest supercross seasons we've ever had. A lapper is down as we see Kim Ashkenazi ripping by, number 838. And here's the checkered flag for John Dowd, our winner in Moto 2. Steve Lampson, a well-deserved second place. Lusk, Sheik, and Buddy Anthony's rounding out the top 5. And look who's number 6, Scott Carter, the local boy. Let's go to our winner.
All right, second moto win. Congratulations. Does that make up a little bit for what happened in the first race?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, it feels good to win here. I've never managed to do that before, but it still kind of bums me out that I missed the first moto, you know, because the overall is still not so good for me today. So, but I don't know. I'm pretty happy about winning the moto. At least I just wish the first moto could have gone a little better for me.
Yeah, and also must give you a little more confidence, you know, after a disastrous moto to beat Lamson straight up like that.
Yeah, it was kind of a bummer because I was feeling pretty good in the first one too. I didn't get the start that I wanted, but I could see that I was kind of picking up the pace and I was starting to loosen up, and I felt like I could have gotten right up in there with him. So, but oh well.
Is this your first ever moto win as a 125 national class rider?
Yeah, and it's my first ever win here too.
Oh yeah.
So
congratulations on both.
Kind of doubled it up today.
Happy day in the Dowd household to go home to celebrate. Steve Lapson, our overall results winner with the 1-2. Ezra Lusk and Scott Sheik also on the podium. And Kevin Windham recovering from 2 bad starts, doing pretty well. Let's go to Davey Coombs with our overall winner.
Steve, congratulations. Your 4th national win in 6 races so far.
Yeah, I felt good today. My starts were horrible. I mean, I luckily just make it through the first lap without crashing, and I felt comfortable out there riding that second moto. John had a good lead on me, and we rode the same pace the whole way. You know, and I couldn't catch him, so and he had some bad luck first moto, and but he did good that second moto though.
Yeah, well, you came out with 22 more points in the title chase as far as John Dowd goes. How do you feel about the rest of the series now? You're almost at the halfway point and about what, 70 points up.
Yeah, I'm just like a mechanic and I were talking. I'm not thinking about the points yet. You know, when it comes down to the last race, if I can win it, it's fine. But just shooting for the wins now.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Steve.
Actually, when you put a pencil to the paper, it's a 77-point lead for Steve Lamson. With Dowd and Windham, looks like they'll have quite a battle for second place. Let's go to Davey Coombs now.
All right, Ezra, second overall. It's your best national ride this year.
Yeah, I played it pretty smart, I think. You know, I saw Lammy coming up on me, and I just tried to keep my cool like I did. Well, like I didn't do in the first moto, and I kept my cool. I rode smart. You know, I was a little off the pace, but we're looking forward for 2 weeks. You know, everything will be a lot better. I got my bike running good, and this weekend I think is the best. Everything's went so far on the 125 for me. So hopefully we can get it going in 2 weeks again and get back up there in the points.
Well, Dowdy had the runaway in the second moto, but we had one great first moto.
It's been a lot of good action, but always in the end, it seems to be that number 1, Steve Lamson, comes away with the win and more points to add to that points lead he's already got. The thing to look for now is if Windham or Dowd can take any points away from Steve Lamson as the season comes to a close.
Eamon Bradshaw looked like the Bradshaw of old.
That was good to see, too. I expected him to be a little more sluggish coming off of his injury, but he took it right to Jeremy and kept the pressure on, and I think the crowd was really liking it, too, because they don't know how much speed Bradshaw actually has. The last 5 minutes, he could have put on a charge and got around. No one really knew for sure, not even Jeremy.
I guess here at Southwick, you'd have to say that a lot of riders hit the beach.
Definitely. A lot of guys go down. The sand has a tendency to bring out the worst in you, and I think it was the worst for LaRocco going down the first corner, and I've been there before. It's no fun.
How did you do here?
Well, I never won this race, dang it, but I think it was due to the start. I never got off the starting line well here. My best start was a 19th.
Ryan Hughes coming back from the broken jaw and had a great duel with Doug Henry. It's good to see Ryan back.
Yeah, I think he's healthy again. It really shows how tough he is, and during that break when he wasn't riding, he was still training, and it shows out there.
Let's go down to the starting line now. They're getting ready for moto number 2. Mike LaRocco after a difficult first moto. Ryan Hughes right next to him, starting to spin his tire on the cement starting platform. Our Honda riding tip deals with today's challenge.
Southwick, as with Glen Helen, posed a unique starting grid for the riders. You're going to notice a few different things the riders do. The first thing you're going to notice is the guys lighting the rear wheel up on the starting grid. That both adds heat to the rear tire for optimum traction and cleans the grid of all loose debris. The second thing you're going to notice is their body position. The body's going to be more erect, head slightly forward, as opposed to the real aggressive look and head down over the fender that you see normally at most nationals. The third thing is patience. Confidence breeds patience. If you're confident, you're going to get good starts no matter what. Confidence is going to allow you to not worry about the guy sitting beside you and be smooth off the gate, not generating a lot of wheel spin. So when you hit the dirt, you're going to accelerate right through the dirt as opposed to with a lot of wheel spin, breaking the rear wheel loose and losing traction. For the 1-800-COLLECT Fox Racing Team, I'm Skip Norfolk.
Oh, that was one of Skip's better tips.
Yeah, that was an excellent, everything about it. Skip knows how to get off the starting line. I'm sure he's shared all that with Jeremy.
And once again, we'll see if Jeremy gets the whole shot. He got the whole shot in the first moto. The gate is dropped, and Emig with a pretty good start. Swink with a good start. Jeremy McGrath is right there, number 1 out in front. Whoa, Emig jumps in front of him. Hughes with a good start as well is right next to Jeremy McGrath out front.
Looked like Jeff went out of his way to make sure he cut across in front of Jeremy. Just did it again right there, and Jeremy hates that. I can tell you, he hates it, and that'll motivate him to get around Emig and just run away and hide.
Emig, McGrath in that order. And Swink is in third, number 23. Hughes is in fourth, number 5. Then you've got Lawrence, Henry, LaRocco, Button.
Now, what's LaRocco? Maybe 9th, 10th? And we're sitting here thinking, well, that's a pretty good start for LaRocco. What a shame.
And, of course, especially after going down right after the starting gate in turn 1 in Moto number 1, LaRocco had more fighting from behind than he could handle, really.
Now, to think that where he's at right now is a decent start. Everyone in the pit area at Suzuki's going, all right, he's up there this time. I mean, it's, gosh, if the guy could just get the starts that he needs on these tougher tracks like this, I think he really can do some damage to get up there and win motos, but you can't do it from that far behind.
Jeff Emig is sailing in first place. Here was the overall winner last year at Southwick. Can he hold off Jeremy McGrath?
Well, last year in the first moto, he hole shotted and led wire to wire. So, you know, here he's got the hole shot again in the second moto, same like he did last year, but wasn't able to hang on to it. In fact, last year he just kind of lost his concentration. His lines weren't coming together. He made a lot of mistakes, and then he recovered with a few guys making it easier for him by crashing to take the overall.
Of course, Emig known as the streak breaker as we look back at Brian Swink in third position, breaking the streak of Jeremy McGrath in the Supercross, and also with a win at Mount Morris with a second and third to take the overall to break Jeremy's string of 3 straight to start the season.
Jeremy's right there, though. Got a little bit of a lead over Swink already. Phil Lawrence hanging in there pretty tough. A decent first moto. Lawrence has been there, and I think Lawrence is in pretty good shape too. I know he trains pretty hard, and that's really going to show today.
After 2 pretty consistent years, especially a nice Supercross season, do you think Phil Lawrence deserves a look from the factories?
Oh, I know he does deserve a look, and I've probably said it about half a dozen times. So it gets around Ryan Hughes right there. That was a smart line. He took the outside. It's a little quicker. And if you get up alongside the guy, you're on the inside heading into the corner, and he just has to give up.
Boy, if you thought this track was rough in the first moto, take a look at the second moto. My gosh, the pegs are buried.
You just get sick and tired of hitting bumps going around the racetrack. Between motos, you've got to get your mind ready to go out there and hit that rough stuff.
Emig, our leader, but McGrath is in striking distance.
What questions keep men up nights? How good can you possibly feel? Are you looking for peak performance? Men's Health magazine has the answers. Call now and get your first issue free. You'll discover uncommon knowledge like 50 ways to flatten your stomach without sit-ups, how to cut your cholesterol 30 points in only 30 days, 5 intimate secrets to better relationships. With this special TV offer, you'll also get these 3 vital books free. Discover the sex secrets women wish men knew. Learn how to get rid of that gut quickly and easily. Plus, you'll get 101 Men's Health secrets every man should know. Call now for your free trial issue of Men's Health. You'll get the full year of Men's Health for $19.97 and these 3 books free. Where are the answers to your questions? In Men's Health.
Call 1-800-351-5522 now for a free trial issue of Men's Health magazine. Subscribe now at our lowest price and get all 3 books free. Have your credit card ready.
Who will rule England? The Grand Prix of Britain, Sunday, 8:45 on ESPN2.
Question. What do you do with an empty hockey arena? Roller Hockey International. All the action. Hold the ice.
Welcome back. Art Ekman, David Bailey, and Davey Coombs from Southwick, Massachusetts. Second moto of the 250s. And it's Jeremy McGrath trailing Jeff Emig. Emig doing a good job holding out in front, but now Jeremy has picked up the pace a little bit. Looks like he's looking for spots, accelerating through this sand.
You know, typically what happens is I've noticed throughout the years is when Emig's got a lot of pressure from Jeremy like this, he starts riding Jeremy's race. He really starts to do a lot to try to block Jeremy and take away the best lines. He's trying to anticipate any place, whatever Jeremy might be thinking, and cover those moves, and eventually that ended up ends up to beat him, and Jeremy's the one that comes out on top. Jeremy's a little smarter than that, but to see how it happens today, I think of the two, Jeremy's probably in better shape.
Boy, as this second moto is well underway, it's amazing the way they go through that finish line stretch and all of those ruts and the fishtailing that goes on and still maintain some type of control.
Well, this is one of the roughest tracks of the year, and it takes a man to win on this track. Physically and mentally, you've got to be so tough. That's why Bob Hanna loved it here so much. There's no man-made stuff. There's no supercross sections. It's just rough, and it gets rougher and rougher all day. Look at that. Both those guys hitting that bad hole right there in the shadows. It'll keep you on your toes. This track will beat you if you don't come here ready.
Jeff Emig, Jeremy McGrath. Still a great battle here in Moto number 2. Jeremy ran away from Damon Bradshaw, and having problems after going down is Ryan Hughes, and he is very frustrated. He was running pretty good today.
Yeah, he sure was, and I think that was near that double jump section, at least it looked like to me. He was on the opposite side of the racetrack, but I would be inclined to think he tried to go for that double and blew it.
Lawrence, Albertine, number 13 and 16, and Mike LaRocco.
Both the Suzuki guys tucking that corner nice and tight. That big main line berm has got shoved about, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 feet wider than it was in the first moto, and it just doesn't pay off to go all the way out there and hit it.
Into the squeeze section now as Albertine puts a big roost of sand through the air.
That was important coming out of that corner, getting up that hill, as it is to get off that concrete starting gate. You get a lot of wheel spin coming out of that gate, and hooking up is so important, and it is coming out of that corner too to head up the hill.
I would imagine the mechanics certainly look for different tire pressures as well as different configurations for a track like this.
Well, typically you just use more what they call a sand tire, just a lot of space between the knobs, and you don't have any problems. There's no rocks. Just in that one corner, the only corner in the whole racetrack, and you usually miss those if you ride a good line.
I don't know if I'd be looking for rocks, though, going that fast.
You'd be surprised, because you're cruising along in the sand, which is fairly giving, and all of a sudden you hit a rock, and they're about the size of baseballs. They dig up throughout the day. They do a good job to pick them up. That one corner always digs them up. If you hit one, you'll know it.
Places like Unadilla, it's put people out for the season. Mike Kudrowski, I remember one year, broke the back of his hand with a flying rock.
Yeah, these don't fly. They just stay there, and when you hit them, you get out of control. But right now, still, Emig is holding a decent lead. It's enough of a lead over Jeremy right now where he doesn't have to ride that defensive, but he's on his mind, I can tell you that. Jeremy's starting to copy the lines a little bit of Jeff. At least through that section he was. There's the mechanic standing side by side.
Emig's mechanic questioning him. Do you really want it? He's trying to get him to focus out front.
Jeremy wants it. He's patient, though. Very patient.
Jeremy McGrath. Side by side. Who gives way? Jeremy gets the best line through the squeeze.
Well, he positioned that way back coming out of the mechanics area corner. He just put himself to the inside and stayed there all the way down the straightaway through the corner. Knew eventually when they got to that squeeze, if he was close enough, he'd have the line, and it worked out.
Used to be said Jeremy would win because he gets out in front and nobody can catch him. But right there, I think he showed his toughness.
I think so, too. I mean, this is one of the roughest tracks of the season, and the way he hopped over that bump right there, I mean, he's just saving himself so much energy by riding smarter lines. Emig, you can see, I mean, that's a berm he's riding through. This berm is turned into like the Talladega banking just about. And throughout the day, it gets so high, and they jump over these holes through the berms. That plateau right there is about the only place in the whole racetrack to rest.
2 seasons ago, it seemed like at the end of the season, a light bulb just went on in Jeremy's mind about outdoors and how to battle through ruts and take the best lines when you can afford to. But sometimes you just can't afford to take a better line. You've got to blast through.
Right. Well, it's having the confidence in your fitness to be able to ride the fastest lines, regardless of if it's rough or not. And Jeremy upped the ante with his physical health and fitness and the confidence, everything that goes with that, just really enhanced his ability to go out and win no matter what the conditions. And he got tired of people saying that he wasn't a complete rider. Now I don't think he can say that.
And of course, he gives a lot of credit to Gary Semix, his trainer, as we take a look at Mike LaRocco getting in front of Brian Swink. LaRocco now with a much better moto here in the second round.
working his way up through the field, but you know, it's unfortunate he has to do that. It'd be nice if he started out front.
Mike LaRocco moves into third in front of Brian Swink. Jeremy McGrath and Emig still out 1 and 2.
At Honda, we don't think kids should be the only ones who eat dirt. That's why we make fun and reliable dirt bikes for just about every member of your family. So that everyone can get a taste of the great outdoors.
How do you keep track of everything that happens in the world of motor racing? You drive with us. RPM tonight, the ultimate wrap-up of the day that was in the world of motor racing. Tonight at 7, only on ESPN2.
Every July, for 600 years, the world finds out who's faster than a speeding bull and who's not. The Running of the Bulls, live from Pamplona, Spain, Friday night at 1:30 a.m., only on ESPN2.
Art Ekman, David Bailey, Davey Coombs from Southwick. There's Phil Lawrence, number 13, out of the Great Western team, an independent team. Here's Greg Albertine. Albertine starting to put some pressure now on Brian Swink for 4th place.
Not a bad ride. If you keep it on 2 wheels, he should be able to get it. He's been gaining on him little by little. And it looks to me like he's just riding a little bit better. Just took the pressure off of himself, and it actually looks like he's not trying as hard, which is a lot of times just a symbol of being in the flow and not fighting the motorcycle in the racetrack.
Suzuki not expecting Greg Albertine to be a great Supercross rider, but also I think they expected more from the outdoor season.
That's going to take him a little while to learn it. He's, you know, look at the Americans that have gone to Europe. I mean, geez, it took Brad Lackey 11 years to win a title. You know, it takes a lot of adjusting. You don't know where to practice, where to live, where the best restaurants are. And you American riders are a little different. I mean, there's so many things. I've talked to him about it before. And once he gets that all under control and stuff's falling down, he'll be a real threat.
Ian Harrison riding on the mechanics board to be smooth and make sure you take the right lines. Getting up into the rear tire now of Brian Swink, number 23. Albertine looking for the spot to get by. Had a little crunch there on the handlebars. He goes wide. Greg Albertine, good angle now to take number 23 and move into a good spot. Looks back. What's going on?
Well, he was in a kind of a weird place where if he was to gas it out into the berm, he thought Swink could square it. He just wanted to make sure he covered that move. 3-time GP World Champion has not experienced similar success here in America.
Well, the tracks on the Outdoor Nationals are definitely slightly slower than the World Grand Prix tracks. You know, so that has taken a bit of adjusting to get used to. And, you know, coming to a different country, you're racing against totally different riders. And, you know, you got to learn to think how these riders actually work. You know, some guys put a fast pace in the end of the race, some guys in the beginning, and, you know, some guys will take you out, some guys won't. So you have to learn each particular rider's characteristics, and it's very different from the GPs. You know, there's no bumping, and it's not really an aggressive riding style that, you know, if you bump somebody, they complain. Whereas here, that is one big thing I've had to learn, you know. There's no free luncheons out there. You leave a slight gap and somebody's going to take it and put you on the ground. And, you know, I'm learning that slowly.
Well, it is a learning process when you take such a drastic change. But right now, Greg Albertine has done a nice job here in Moto 2. Here's Jeff Emig. Emig in second place now, a rather lonely second as Jeremy McGrath starts to put some big time between him and the second place rider.
Emig still using the left side, dropping into that pit before the finish line. As he comes out, he hits one of those bigger bumps and he gets a lot of air, and it puts him right back to the outside line. He does that every lap, but when he made the pass a little earlier, got all that air time, I thought that was an accident, but actually one of the lines he chooses to use every time.
Even though Jeff Emig has only one win on the overall this season, this would be his 5th second place out of 6 races. Jeff Emig holding his own in 2nd place. Now in 3rd place, right behind Emig, is Mike LaRocco, number 8. We see him here now on the Suzuki.
Looking pretty good too. He's got a lot of strength, and it looks like he's still riding really aggressive. You know, unfortunately, I mean, I keep saying this all the time, but shoot, you know, he's coming from behind every week. Mount Morris, he finally got good starts both motos, and he found himself in a position to win the overall. If he could hang off, or hold off rather, Jeremy McGrath, and he couldn't do it.
Actually passed McGrath in the first moto that day, but couldn't hold off. Took a 2nd place in that moto, a 3rd in the next for the 2nd overall. A 3rd overall in his last race at Budds Creek. So it appears that Mike LaRocco is putting some nice things together here before the end of the season. And he's one of the few riders that has one more year remaining on his contract. There's going to be a lot of negotiating going on this year.
And you got to be wondering too, and I in no way saying that his career is over, but it's probably closer to the end than it is to the beginning. And you know, I wonder much longer he plans on racing. Maybe another year on the Suzuki be about all there is for Mike LaRocco.
The battle for 5th right now is on. Brian Swink, 23, trying to catch up with the guy in that spot, Doug Henry. And if Doug Henry should finish in his position, David, he'd have 3rd overall, his first podium of the year.
Well, he keeps getting better and better, but he's got company right now. Look at this, Swink and Lawrence. Lawrence has ridden pretty good today. And Swink too. Swink with a decent start in this moto. Stayed up there pretty good, but this is where these guys really get tired. The toughest will prevail out of this battle.
The guys are always tired after the first competitive moto, and then they go through the exhilaration of the start of the 2nd moto. What's it like right now? What's burning inside? What's telling them this is really tough?
Everything. The heat. Lawrence makes the move around Swink, and that feels good when you can get up and pass somebody. At least you feel like you're moving forward and you got something to be excited about. You're gaining time, but typically towards the end of the 2nd moto at Southwick, at least from my memories, you got to put your leg out for a corner and you got to get it back on the peg real quick because it's cramping. Your fingers start to cramp. You can't get your fingers open to go out and use the levers at times because they're cramping up. Especially if you didn't drink enough or didn't eat the right stuff. But everything is bothering you. You're just tired all over, and you really feel it when you stop.
How long does it take you to recover from a race like this?
The first 2 days of the week, if you get out and get in like a couple of half-hour, 45-minute runs and ride a little bit, you usually feel pretty good by Wednesday.
Wow. Phil Lawrence, a nice ride for this independent team rider who's had an excellent season. Lawrence currently in 6th position. Looks like he might be able to nail that down as Swink is fading back behind him.
And Lawrence is pretty tall, and that typically is an advantage on a track that's sandy like this, because your body has to soak up all the bumps, just like a downhill skier like doing the moguls. You can see their legs are just shock absorbers, and for Lawrence, he's got long travel.
He looks like he's putting a lot of seat time in there too, sitting back. Now he stands up as he tries to approach Doug Henry. Henry battling it out with a lapper there, giving an advantage, I think, to Phil Lawrence and catching up as they go up to the squeeze. Henry inside, Lawrence outside. It's interesting to see how those 2 lines sophisticated all of a sudden.
Well, I think people just got tired of following somebody through that inside line, and the squeeze, as you call it, Art, they get tired of it, so they created a new one, and now they've got a couple of pretty good lines through there, and it's hard to know what to do if you're the guy in front, like Henry was through there, if you should take the inside or the outside.
Henry in 5th position. Lawrence wants 5th. Henry wants a podium appearance. He's got to hold on to it to make it.
Right now, it's just survival. You're pretty tired. And for Lawrence, you're thinking, well, this isn't bad. I got nothing to lose, really, and maybe I can pick up a spot. But for Henry, you're just going, please, give me the white flag.
McGrath, Emig, LaRocco, Albertine, and then Henry on his native track. We'll be back with the finish of the 250s in a moment.
Time. There's never enough, especially for the exercise you know you should be getting.
What if there were a way to get the exercise you need and the results you want in less time? Now you can with WalkFit, the world's best walking workout from Nordic Track. Compared to motorized treadmills, WalkFit gives you a workout that's more effective, comfortable, and easier to use. You'll burn an average of 53% more calories than on ordinary treadmills, so you lose weight more efficiently. With ordinary motorized treadmills, you'd have to work an extra 60 minutes each week to get the same results. Prove it to yourself. Use WalkFit in your home for 30 days. And if you're not satisfied, return it for a refund of the purchase price. Call now and ask for our free video and brochure showing you the advantages of the superior exercise only WalkFit can deliver. Save an hour a week while getting fit and lean. With WalkFit, time is on your side. Call now.
Coverage of AMA Motocross is brought to you by the reigning Supercross 125 and 250 outdoor champions, Honda. Come ride with us. Action in the second moto of the 250s winding down as Phil Lawrence still trying to catch up with Doug Henry and get the right opportunity to make a pass on this very difficult Southwick track.
They're coming to the section where a lot of passes have been made. If Lawrence was a little closer, maybe he could get down and steal that inside line away from Henry, but Henry riding here enough, winning here back-to-back motos, I think a couple of years on the 125. He knows where those lines are. He's not going to give anything to Lawrence. He's going to have to earn it.
One more lap remaining, less than a lap actually, as they went over the finish line with the white flag waving. Doug Henry holding off Phil Lawrence. And want to be nice to go back to the hospital and say, Stacy, is it a girl or a boy? And I got third.
You can see how much of the racetrack they're using now too as they come over that hill. Just before the end of this section, they're all the way out against the banners. The track's about 50 feet wide right there, and they're all the way against the edge.
Oh, look at those ruts.
Yeah, you can imagine what it looks like from the other side coming up that hill. You got to have the balance to stay in that rut as you're climbing the hill.
Here's Jeremy McGrath. It's been a long time since we checked in with Jeremy. On the final lap, though, we'll pick him up as he's had a ride in the park on Sunday.
You can see a section on the other side of the racetrack going the other way. There's 4 berms going around the corner, and it's just like a rut, really. You got to stay in that line all the way around the racetrack. Right now, Jeremy, I don't think he cares what line he's in. He can coast home from here.
You can go too slow on this track, any sandy track.
Getting a lot of cheers from the crowd. Looks like he's going to put together another sweep.
Well, it's incredible. Not only the Supercross record, but it appears he's even going to greater heights in the sport, the tougher sport of motocross. A tired Jeremy McGrath, I'm sure, even though it was an easy victory, as he comes over Skip Norfolk, his mechanic, probably walking to the interview area to hold up his bike, because I know Jeremy will be winded. McGrath, the sweep on the afternoon as we take a look at the Moto2 results. LaRocco at third, Albertine into fourth. Bradshaw disappointing 10th after the second in the first moto. Let's go to Davey.
Jeremy, way to do it. 1-1.
Well, had to follow him for a while there. He got inside of me on the start. I had a good start, but I think I faded a little wide. And shoot, he was tough. You know, I couldn't get around him for a while. I was checking his lines and making sure I had a couple lines. You know, I had one line that I thought was a little bit quicker, and that's where I tried to press and get really close to him and eventually go by him.
Now, when did you finally pass him? Down here at the bottom of the long downhill?
Yeah, I passed him going over the jump, kind of pulled up beside him, and then passed him just about going in the frog pond. So it was a clean pass. There was no bumping and banging. It was good. He tried to go around the outside and get on the inside of me, but I came down and just had him.
Yeah. So now you've won on the hard stuff, you won on the dry stuff, you win in the sand. What's it going to take to beat you?
I don't know. I'm having a great time, and I don't know. I think it's confusing some of these guys out there, so... I mean, Skip and I are working really hard in Honda, and, you know, we do what we need to do during the week and come out and put a show on the weekend.
All right, well, congratulations on your 5th win this year.
Thanks.
Many times overlooked that conditioning during the week as we take a look at the overall results. Jeff Emig coming back after a miserable first moto for a second-place finish and a second overall.
Jeff, it looks like you had him there for a while. What happened?
Basically just wasn't going fast enough, I think. You know, Kawasaki and Bridgestone, they gave us a great bike again today, and you know, I had a real terrible first moto, and I really wanted to win the second moto, but I just didn't have the speed, I guess. I mean, you know, I can't really blame it on anything else, you know, except for myself.
And give credit where credit is due. Jeremy McGrath now up 42 points on Emig. LaRocco and Albertine next, with Henry moving into the top 5 after an impressive podium performance overall today.
For Emig, I guess if they could just have the remainder of the Nationals in St. Louis, maybe he'd have a shot at it. I don't know. I think really he's probably working awfully hard, but he's not working hard enough. It's obvious that Jeremy's just doing a little bit more during the week, and he's that much more prepared. And with that preparation comes confidence.
Going from the sandy beach here of Southwick, our next round, round number 7, will be in Buchanan, Michigan. Any big changes there?
A few. Redbud is full of Supercross-style jumps, and there's no sand.
Jeremy McGrath winning 5 of the 6 overalls this year. Art Ekman for David Bailey, Davey Coombs. Thank you so much for being with us from Southwick, Massachusetts.